Yo. Today I wanted to continue my chakra series and I wanted to make another video on the root chakra and something that I think is really important when you are getting in tune with grounding and reality and yourself, as grounding can help us do. There are a lot of videos out there about the root chakra and about grounding, about being in the moment, about being present. And I think that for a lot of people, when we try talking about these things, because life is so busy and because it's so complex and because there's so much effort that goes into the simple act of staying still and keeping your head above water in modern society, it can seem a little daunting to add yet another thing to your list of things to do, even if that thing is grounding and even if that thing, supposedly can help you. And also it can seem like, well, why do I need to be grounded if my feet are on the ground? And why be in the moment? And why create a practice of being in the moment if each moment is going to come and go regardless of whether I'm in it or not? And I'm not going to say that grounding and being in the moment gives you energy, because it does. And I'm not going to say that being in the moment is important for being in touch with others, because it is. And with being happy, because it helps. And I'm not even going to say that being in the moment makes you more efficient and effective, because it allows you to see things how they really are rather than how you imagine them to be. And so you can deal with things more directly. I'm actually going to tell you something else. I'm going to tell you something in the spirit of Halloween, which is coming up and is one of my favorite holidays. I'm going to tell you something you're sure of. You are going to die. Yeah, that's right. You're going to croak. You are going to kick the bucket. You are going to shuffle loose the mortal coil. And if you're anything like me, when I started doing energy work, you're either actively afraid of death, and so try not to think about it, or since it's inevitable, you figure it doesn't really matter, you'll just deal with it when it happens. So again, in the spirit of the holiday, I'm going to tell you some nastiness about myself. When I was young teenager, my appendix burst. Just happened. A nurse thought I had a stomach ache. Took me 3-4 hours before anybody realized something was wrong. And then eventually my mom, like a hero, came from on high and delivered me to a proper hospital. And the doctors told me after I woke up that I was about an hour from death. I had sepsis, real bad. And during that time, I had some moments where I left and came back in. There was a time when I fell from a very high height in a drunken stupor and met death again. And if you've been watching the channel, you know sometimes I have religiously oriented visions, and those things cook my brain, and my brain has been thoroughly cooked by some of the experiences that I've put it through, and I've been lightly in and out because of that as well. So take it from someone who's been there, or at least been in the vicinity of the ever after, that unless you have your life in perfect order, and that means no fights or drama with family and friends, no regrets, your heart knows only joy, unless all of that is true for you, you want to be ready. Because if you're not capable of being in the moment, your mind is going to go to where it goes, not to where you're focusing on. So why should you be ready? And how should you be ready? Well, let's just deal initially with this. There are going to be people who, when they think about death, they think, well, there's a good chance that I die instantaneously, right? To those people, I'm going to call that phenomenon the anvil on the head. You are walking down the street, some crane is lifting a smithy's anvil up in the air, it breaks free, drops on your head. So there is that, and I will deal with that in just a moment. But now I'm going to deal with all of the other times. And in most of the other times, when you are dying, or you're about to experience death, you will have time while knowing that death is imminent, is about to happen. And when that time comes, in my opinion, should want to be supportive and kind and loving and there for your families, friends, and spouse if you haven't outlived them. In those moments, those final moments, there is the fear of your own demise. There's the fear of the unknown, and you don't want it to overtake you. You want to meet your end with some dignity. So before I move on, I want to give a little secret from my own trance meditations that I've done, my own advanced Reiki stuff. I want to give a little secret for those of you who subscribe to the belief that an anvil is going to drop on your head. Again, through my in and out sessions with the ever after and my close brushes with death, I can assure you, and again, this is my experience, I'm not telling you to take me as gospel or anything, but my experience is that there is a psychological journey that takes place between here and there. Some people call it your life flashing before your eyes, which I think is a way to think about it. But another way, and this is my more scientific take on this, is that there is a chemical that is secreted in your brain, in your pineal gland, which is right there. See that? Right in the middle, right there. And it secretes a chemical called DMT, and it does it when you're born, when you dream, when you die, and some scientists are kind of finding that it happens when you're in love too. This thing, this chemical, can change time. It changes your perception of time. Don't believe me? Okay. Have you ever laid down for a 15 to 20 minute nap, and while you were napping, you dropped right into REM sleep, right into dream sleep, and had a long, epic, days or even weeks long journey, adventure experience in your dream, and woken up and being like, whoa, that was so much, I should really write that down? And then you look at your clock and 15 minutes has gone by. Yeah, that's DMT. That's what does that biochemically. And that chemical is also secreted in other situations. We're still learning a lot about it. It's hard to measure anything having to do with it because it's right in the middle, kind of hard to cut down into that and put a microscope on it. But it is real. And my experience with DMT, though I haven't taken the drug DMT, but I've experienced enough of it through lucid dreaming and through my trance meditation, is that consciousness, your being, interacts directly with DMT, thus creating the perceptual, again, from your conscious perception, your perspective, time slows down, or you can experience more time within your experience than within a small period of time, like when you dream during REM sleep. And during sleep, you get 8 hours of sleep, there's just 2 sessions, 20 minutes each, of dream sleep. So you have all these dreams that last all this time, but it actually really only takes place about every 3 hours when you sleep during that 20-minute period. So that's DMT. That's the interaction of consciousness with DMT. So even if an anvil drops on your head, you can be assured that there just might be an experience that you want to be, sorry, you might want to be prepared for. So yeah, as far as being prepared, for whatever trip awaits you, for whatever experience awaits you, you need to practice. Even if you believe that nothing is going to happen after you die, just for the sake of being a decent human alone, you want to be able to be in the moment and be grounded when these experiences are happening to you so that you don't create trauma for the people who care about you. I mean, if you're a good person, people are going to be traumatized by your passing. And there's ways that you can make that easier by being in the moment and showing compassion than not. So how do we do this? How do we ground ourselves? How do we be in the moment? How do we be ready for death? Well, I listed a lot of techniques so far in my Reiki channel, in this Bites of Reiki. The key to key is a really good one, and how to get started with Reiki is another one. But while I have you here, I know we're going a little over for this video, I will show you a technique that I think works really well. So first you want to start with your focus. So again, in the other videos I've showed, you can use your hands like this and sort of focus within them on the key energy within. If you are dying in a way in which you don't have your hands, then you can use, I use my forehead sometimes, although that can kind of give me a headache. Sometimes I use my heart, or you can use your stomach to focus on. Now, then you want to take a moment to acknowledge that you're doing this exercise. One of the best ways I've found is by allowing yourself to be still. But I think, though I've gotten really good at this technique, and it's more of a just allow, it's like an opening of a gate for me to step into this technique. For a lot of people new to it, you may have to give yourself permission to do this technique, because this will be a, shall we say, empty-headed technique. And you may have things that need to be done. You may need to clean. You may need to do stuff with your kids. You may need to check the bank balance. And you will need to tell yourself that just for this 5 minutes, or just for this 10 minutes, or just for this 30 seconds, you are going to take this time for yourself. And then you are going to do what I do, which is imagine yourself up on the bank of a river. Now, I grew up in the country, so this is really easy for me, but there are other things you can use. Anything that flows in front of you. So it could be wind flowing by, and maybe you see the little wisps of it, or maybe it's like a highway with cars on it, and you're sitting up on a building watching them go by. And as this flows and you imagine yourself sitting above it, you're going to imagine what you're watching: the water going by, the wind going by, the cars going by. If you're more of a city person, you're going to imagine those as your thoughts. And you are going to imagine, while you are watching them go by, that if you get caught up in any of these thoughts, if you find yourself, oh man, 5 minutes just went by and I stopped doing the exercise and I've been thinking about how mad I am at my ex, then picture yourself falling in the river. Picture yourself falling into the breeze. Picture yourself accidentally stumbling into traffic and all the cars screeching and honking at you. And then consciously and purposefully pull yourself out and put yourself back on the side, get back into your focus and watch it go by again. And while you are doing that, and again, just that can take a little bit of practice to get used to, of watching your thoughts go by rather than being the captain of where all the thoughts are going to go so you can do all the things, letting them go by will be a practice. And then once you get to that, you can picture yourself glowing, like picture the you sitting on the bank, picture the you sitting on the building, glowing with light. Picture that light coming, man, from anywhere you can imagine it coming from below, from above, from loving relatives, from your cat who passed away a couple months ago. Like, from wherever, and imagine yourself filling up with light. And as these negative thoughts start coming up, these dramas, these problems, imagine that light flowing from you into the thing that has your focus. Not falling off, not falling into it, but flowing gently into it, and allow that to happen as much as you can. And again, if you fall in, pull yourself out. And if you can't glow, just sitting there and watching it go by is fine. It's tremendously good for your brain, this exercise, because your brain works so hard to handle all the things that come up. And those things can come up in the worst of times if you haven't learned to set them straight. And a way that you can set them straight is by being in the moment and being in tune and using that, in tuneness as your perspective on the things you're dealing with. And then you can become someone that when you're facing your final moments, you've set yourself straight. You set your life straight. And that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's on good terms with you. Hell, sometimes it takes everything you can, it takes everything you have just to be able to be steady about being on someone's bad terms. And that's part of life. But you can be grounded and you can be balanced and you can be in the moment about all things, even when somebody doesn't like you, even when your body isn't working properly, even when there's problems all around you, and even when you die. You can be in the moment and you can be ready. And I don't know if that means that you're happy in those moments, because I think being in the moment means you're absorbed in what is. And I think what is can be many things. And I think that what is often without labels. And I think that even the term in the moment doesn't really do justice to how it feels when you have this energy going within you. Sometimes I don't think joy or bliss even does the idea justice. So, congratulations. You now know how to be in the moment. And you now know how to face death with a little bit of courage. And with practice, I'm hoping that you will have a leg up when you are going down. Happy Halloween, everyone.